भले ही हमारा बिहार विकास में पीछे हो और रोजगार में पीछे हो, लेकिन प्रतिभा के क्षेत्र में हमारे बिहार की कोई सानी नहीं है। जब भी यूपीएससी का रिजल्ट आता है तब आप इस बात को स्पष्ट रूप से महसूस करेंगे। लगभग प्रत्येक वर्ष यूपीएससी में टॉप 10 टॉपरों में से 4 बिहार के ही रहते हैं। आज भी यूपीएससी के परिणाम आए हैं। इस बार तो बिहार की बेटियों ने कमाल ही कर दिया है। यूपीएससी की फर्स्ट टॉपर भी बिहार की बेटी है और सेकेंड टॉपर भी बिहार की ही बेटी है। यानी बिहार की बेटियों ने यूपीएससी के प्रथम स्थान एवं द्वितीय स्थान दोनों पर कब्जा कर लिया है। इस बार यूपीएससी की ऑल इंडिया में पहली टॉपर इशिता किशोर है, जो पटना की बेटी है। पटना ही उनका अपना घर है और पटना ही उनका ननिहाल भी है। भले ही वह वर्तमान में दिल्ली के ग्रेटर नोएडा में रहती हैं, लेकिन उनका सारा कुछ बिहार के पटना में ही है। इशिता के पिता एयरफोर्स में बड़े अधिकारी हैं। इशिता को अपने पिता से ही यह प्रेरणा मिली है कि उन्हें आईएएस अफसर बनना है।
Yeah, please come, Ishita. Good morning. Please sit down. So, Ishita, please introduce yourself to the panel.
Sir, I'm Ishita Kishore. I'm a graduate in economics from Sri Ram College of Commerce, Delhi University. After that, I went on to work with Ernst & Young in risk advisory for 2 years. Sir, I've been an active sports person in my life, and I think that has shaped my personality to a great extent.
Ishita, as I see from your DAF, you have been an all-rounder performance in school, best student,
Yes, sir.
right? So, what were the benchmarks of being an all-rounder there?
Sir, apart from good academic performance, the faculty of the school also looked into the co-curricular participation of the students, how much they participated in debating activities, in interact club activities, in sports activities, and also in holding positions of responsibility in the school.
So if you would aim to be an all-rounder performer as a civil servant, what do you think should the benchmarks be?
Sir, I think as a civil servant, firstly, the ability to work in a team, being a team player is very important, because working in silos will not
That's
help.
one. What else?
So secondly, leadership skills are very important. The ability to take quick decisions and timely decisions by considering all possible factors is important. So the third factor would be having the ability to achieve excellence in diverse set of activities in a short period of time, because civil servants are often transferred into different departments, into different districts, and have to give the results.
Okay. You're a student of political science,
Yes.
right? The Chief Justice of India has made a statement today that collegium may not be the perfect mode, but at the moment it is the best solution and the best way to ensure independence of judiciary. What have you to say?
Sir, I agree with the remarks of the Chief Justice of India, because there might be systems that can be defined as best, but society must focus on what is best practicable and keep on improving it as the time evolves and as the society evolves. I think currently the collegium system of recruiting judges and selection of judges is working well, but it can be improved by elaborating the panel and the selection.
Suppose if I were to say, Ishita, that the youngsters like you, we have interviewed a large number of candidates
Yes.
like you, and majority of them are of the opinion that collegium is opaque.
Yes.
So, do you think that what CGI is saying that this is the best? It may be his version, but what do people think?
Yes, sir. I believe that it was the best practicable solution at a particular time, but the demands of the society and the awareness of the people demands a system that is more transparent, that has more visibility about what are the parameters, what are the factors being considered when a selection is being made. So I think there are better solutions today.
So, was NJEC a better solution, Ishita?
Sir, while the intent of NJAC was to elaborate the selection panel and the selection committee, I feel that giving the government also an equal say in appointment can lead to certain collusion in the decision making.
So, some middle path has to
Yes.
be found. All right. Thank you, Ishita. I pass on to Abhay.
So, Ishita, G20,
Yes.
do you think it is a group of 20 countries?
No, so there are more than 20 countries
Mhm.
because the European Union is also part of it,
Mhm.
and under it, a number of countries are given representation.
Mhm. So, it is how many countries?
Sir, I think it is around 57 countries, but I'll have to recheck it.
Okay. And India has the chairmanship or presidentship. What exactly we call it?
Sir, while the presidentship and the chairmanship is rotational, but I think
No, what
it's-
is the exact word? Technical word is what? Do we call it is chairmanship or is it called presidentship?
Sir, I think it is presidentship. I will check it.
Yeah, check up that. No? Okay. And current year is with us.
Yes.
Previous year was with whom?
So Indonesia.
Indonesia. Next year? And 24?
Sir, it is Brazil.
Brazil. That's good. So far, what have been the achievements for India as being the chairman of G20 group?
Sir, I think India has successfully showcased to the world that the global south can successfully determine what should be the resolutions, what should be the motions for discussion in the external affairs meeting also, and as well as the finance communique. However, sir, there has been issues around finalizing what the communique should be because there are conflicting views of different countries.
So, Ishita, work experience in Ernst and Young
Yes, sir.
and risk analyst.
Yes, sir.
Right. So, I give you 4 risk parameters.
Okay.
Tell them in order of serious most to least serious. First is revival of pandemic. Second is happening of World War III. Third risk is US banks collapse. More banks getting collapsed. Fourth risk is meltdown of global economies. Place them in order of risk perception that you think.
So, can I please take a moment? Sir, in perspective, having a global perspective, I think that the Russia-Ukraine war, which is sometimes also being perceived as a World War III, would have high risk for the global south and as well as the emerging market economies in terms of stability in their macroeconomic indicators. The second risk, sir, would be to the geoeconomics of the world, that is the collapsing of the great banks in America, that we, in United States of America, we saw the Silicon Valley Bank and the Signature Bank and now Credit Suisse in Europe. So this would be the second risk that can destabilize banking across the world, as we had seen in 2008. So the third risk would be overheating of the global economies, because these are our export markets for the global south and this affects our exports, thereby increasing our current account deficit. And lastly, sir, revival from the pandemic. I place this at a lower risk because we have seen how economies are overcoming the effect of the pandemic in the last 2 years.
Good. So, just bring this topic to a conclusion. 2 minutes. You are addressing the summit.
In a globalized world and an interconnected world, any conflicts or any escalating situations in one part of the world can quickly escalate and spread like wildfire to other parts of the world. We have seen this in the recent Russia-Ukraine crisis, wherein any invasion in Ukraine led to economic fallout in other parts of the world. We had seen how global commodity prices rose, affecting the basic necessities of the people. We have seen how oil prices rose across the world and affected the day-to-day lives of the people. To improve this situation, a better collaborative way forward is required. It is very important to bring both the parties back to the high table of diplomacy to ensure that there is dialogue and deliberation. India, as a responsible power, calls for the cessation of all violence and bilateral negotiations between the two warring countries. With this way forward, I believe that with better dialogue and better deliberation, we can bring an end to the world war or the Russia-Ukraine war, and thereby bring world peace.
All right, good.
Ishita, you have studied at Delhi for 5 years.
Yes, sir.
And rather schooling on is also from there. Can you tell me what are the changes we see with respect to women's security in the last 1 decade?
So prior to this decade, there was a horrifying incident that shook the conscience of entire citizens of Delhi. That was the Nirbhaya rape case. And after that, many positive steps have been taken. Firstly, sir, there is increased vigilance by the police. There are many women patrolling cars also. We are seeing also pink police stations that are women friendly and having women officers. Thirdly, sir, regular advertisements I am seeing by the Delhi police in the newspapers about improving martial arts and improving self-defense among the women. So this has increased the consciousness of the people.
But any deficiency you feel is still there in terms of arrangements for some infrastructure for women's security?
Yes, sir. I believe that we can do better in this regard. The recent Kanjawala road accident case also said how regional disparity within Delhi needs to be improved. Lighting of the streets need to be improved.
Okay. Now, there is a talk of paradigm shift from women's development to women-led development.
Yes.
So, where do you see women-led development in India? Which are the areas, which are the sectors where we see that that development is led by women?
So starting at the grassroots level, I think the self-help groups are setting a very good example of women-led development.
Next.
So next would be the rising presence of women in the Indian Army after the Babita Punia case and how they are creating a demonstrator effect in society. And sorry.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, Ishita, in emerging country like India, capital expenditure is necessary to stimulate economic growth.
Yes.
However, it affects the fiscal discipline and macroeconomic stability. So, how do you analyze this situation?
So the recent budget had also increased its capital expenditure, which is now 3.3% of the GDP, rupees 10 lakh crore. And while this can have effect on the fiscal discipline of the government, I believe that this is a right step in the long run. Capital expenditure creates a virtuous cycle of growth, wherein more investment brings in more employment and thereby contributes to the larger growth of the economy.
Coming to your optional PSIR, who is your favorite political thinker and why?
So the ideas of J.S. Mill have always resonated with me because he was one of the first modern thinkers to also talk about the rights of women and how women should be brought into the public sphere.
What's your take on same-sex marriage?
So at an individual level, I think the ideas of love and desire are should be given autonomy, also in line with the Supreme Court judgments of Navtej Singh Johar and all. But at a legal level, it must be evaluated what impact it will have in society, what legal provisions is it conflicting with, and what are the overall changes we require in the entire structure to accommodate such demands.
So I see from your DAF you are very good in sports, football, basketball, taekwondo.
Yes.
So can you highlight initiatives taken by Government of India for the development of sports in our country?
So the first and the massive initiative is that of Khelo India Games. This brings in a number of indigenous sports also and popularizes them. I think that's a good step. Secondly, sir, we have the top scheme to bring in athletes who are performing well at the Olympic Stadium. So that is also a good measure. Thirdly, sir, in Delhi especially, I have seen that how sports schools are being created, how sports is inculcated better into the curriculum of the day-to-day education. So I think these are some good steps.
So Ishita, why do you wish to join civil services?
So while I was working with Ernst & Young, I evaluated what should be my long-term career option. And civil services was preferred, sir, because in the beginning of the career, it provides a number of opportunities for policy implementation. and these learnings can be utilized for policy advisory at the end of the career. I believe that it provides an intellectually stimulating environment, and at a personal level, sir, I would derive a great sense of satisfaction to contribute to the overall development and governance of the country.
Okay, thank you, Ishita. I pass on to Chairman, sir.
So, Ishita, anything which we may not have covered from your depth? Maybe the last question could be from that missed area, if any.
Sir, I feel the interview was sufficiently covered a number of areas.
Okay. So, Ishita, we close the interview now. You may proceed to the waiting room. We'll call you again.
Thank you, sir.
अब बात करते हैं बिहार की दूसरी बेटी गरिमा लोहिया की। इशिता किशोर के बाद गरिमा लोहिया ने यूपीएससी के ऑल इंडिया परीक्षा में दूसरा रैंक प्राप्त किया है। गरिमा बिहार के बक्सर जिले के बंगला घाट मोहल्ले की रहने वाली है। उनका परिवार पेशे से व्यवसायी है, लेकिन पिता की मृत्यु लगभग 8 वर्ष पहले हो गई थी। पिता की मृत्यु के बाद गरिमा पूरी तरह टूट गई थी, लेकिन बाद में उन्होंने अपने आप को संभाला और लगातार मेहनत करती रही। गरिमा बताती है कि उन्होंने स्कूलिंग बक्सर से पास की है और उसके बाद पढ़ने के लिए दिल्ली चली गई। कोरोना काल में दिल्ली से पुनः बक्सर अपने घर लौट आई और उसके बाद से लगातार ऑनलाइन और यूट्यूब के सहारे अपनी पढ़ाई करती रही। इसका परिणाम ये हुआ कि आज उन्होंने पूरे बिहार का नाम रोशन कर दिया है। जैसे ही बक्सर वासियों को गरिमा के रिजल्ट के बारे में पता चला, बड़ी संख्या में लोग उनके घर बधाई देने पहुंचने लगे। बिहार का सर गर्व से ऊंचा करने के लिए बिहार की इन दोनों बेटियों को केबीसी न्यूज की ओर से भी 100 बार सलाम।